there. Welcome to Demo's 10-Minute Tech Pitch, the podcast where you can get the skinny on the latest product developments in SaaS. I am your host, Sarah Brazier, and this week we're featuring some of the top SaaS products for account-based marketing. First up, we have UserGems, and I am sitting here with Christian Kletzel, the CEO and co-founder of the company. Christian, welcome to the show.
Hey, Sarah. Great to be here.
So the first thing I'd love to ask you about is, why did you start UserGems to begin with?
The question is, how much time do you have for that story? But I think it's how it typically happens. We had a different startup. It was called Smart Hires. It was actually a recruiting startup, but one of our customers changed their job. And we saw this, tracked them down, turned this person into a customer again. And we thought, hey, this is really easy. And because of the recruiting startup, we already had like the publicly available professional data of people. So we said, can we take this technology and turn it into a sales and marketing solution that can help you track people for job changes? And that's what we did.
So Christian, there are three main users for UserGems. There's marketing, there's sales, and there's revenue operations. Can you talk about the use cases for those three roles?
So for sales, we all know that it gets harder and harder to really get in touch with a prospect. Cold outreach, while it still works, it gets harder every year. And we've heard this. I think previously you needed 200 to 400 touch points to open up an opportunity. Now you're in the range of 1,200 to 1,300 touch points. And so what you need to do is figure out a way that actually works. And that's where we come in with signal-based selling. So for salespeople, if any of your past users, buyers changes their job, we push them directly into your Salesforce. We send you a notification, and then ultimately two things happen. If there's already an open opportunity, we let you know, hey, you can accelerate the deal. And if there's no opportunity, then we help you with the outreach to make sure you get in touch with that person and figure out if there's an opportunity at their new company. For marketing, it's very similar. Like we work a lot with marketing where marketing takes care of the first step. It's all about creating the demand and then handing it off to the sales team once you get in touch with a person. The other part that we've seen is for an ABM strategy, it actually helps you prioritize accounts. So for when it comes to ABM, the goal is always let us select sales and marketing together, the accounts we go after. And we've all heard about intent signals in order to get in touch, in order to identify the accounts. And if you identify that you already have a warm path into an account, you have a much higher chance of actually getting in touch with them. So this is a signal that is being used in ABM to help select the accounts. And then the last one for RevOps, ultimately, it also helps with the data quality in your Salesforce with bounce rates, and so therefore it's a big goal. We work with RevOps just to make sure that the data in your Salesforce is accurate.
So it sounds like you can accelerate sales cycles, you can use less touches and less energy in order to actually start an opportunity, and then you can make sure that you're not accelerating waste. Sales reps reaching out to people who don't exist anymore aren't actually at the company.
Yeah, that's right. The one thing that also is really interesting is the other side of a job change. So in this case, if your buyer or champion leaves an organization, you have an increased risk of churn. It's a 68% higher risk of churn. So therefore, there's also a notification for the CSM, hey, your champion left, as well as who replaced that person at a customer account.
I'm thinking about this from the RevOps perspective of having a pretty chunky tech stack and using a lot of different things for salespeople. How do you think UserGem fits in among a large tech stack, and how do you play nice with other tools?
Mm-hmm. This is actually such a good question. There's actually two elements to this. I think the first one is kind of like, how is UserGems different than other data providers? And then the second one is actually, how do you action UserGems? And there's two different things. For how we're different, a lot of data providers are databases. You go in there, you search, but you can't keep a database up to date. If you work with UserGems, then if you have users, if you have buyers, we track these people every single month. We look at what is the most up-to-date job of this person. And as soon as we identify that there's a change that happened, then we immediately notify the AE, we push it directly into your Salesforce. So really the big thing is data accuracy and freshness. For a job change, you need the data now, not in 6 months.
I'm thinking about deals that I've worked or prospecting, and I've gone into a database to try to find information, and I've reached out to them, and I get a bounce back email that this person left 5 years ago, and or calling someone, and they're like, "No, this company doesn't exist anymore," and you're like, "Oh, okay. Well, all the tools that I've been working with have been telling me this is a hot opportunity." So UserGem sounds like it's a really good way to get in front of accurate data and people who are actually in market.
We looked at what is your opportunity rate if you reach out to a person in the first 3 months versus like 6 to 12 months in their job. And the difference is noticeable. Like we're talking about 2 to 3x the opportunity rate if you reach out to someone in the first 3 months. And it totally makes sense. If I'm starting a new role, I'm the new VP, the first thing I do is evaluate what I need. And if you're past the phase of me evaluating, then it's oftentimes too late and you need to wait until I'm re-evaluating in like 10, 12 months.
We touched on this a little bit, but I'm curious if you think about there's lots of different data providers out there. All of them have different value propositions. What do you think makes UserGems uniquely different?
Yeah. So in the first place, it really is to focus on the accurate data. And it does make a difference. But I want to focus on a second piece because it's actually, like, in a sense, we consider it a signal, right? It's one of the buyer signals that's really, really strong. But the thing is, we actually help you turn this into revenue. And the way we do this is we not just give you the CSV file and say, here, do your thing, but rather we go in, we help you route out the job change, notify the right person. We give you the messaging. We are there for you and we analyze, did the outreach happen? How many steps happened? Too often we see like an SDR or an AE maybe selects a job change, puts them into a sequence, but then only one step happens. So for us, the real value is obviously the data and the job change, but the difference in opportunity creation and closed won creation is actually what happens next. It's the turning the job change into an action is really where all the value creation happens.
So Christian, I have an example for you. I have worked deals in the past that I didn't think were going to close because the decision makers were hesitant about the value of the product I was selling. But then I got super lucky. I got a UserGems notification and I went to that person and said, "Hey, I know you just joined this company, but we're currently in an active deal cycle. I'd love to get your take in your first 3 months, what you want to improve and if there's an opportunity to work together." And that made all the difference. And I closed some of my biggest 6-figure deals. So I'm curious, am I an outlier or how does using UserGems really impact sales cycles?
That's awesome. Love the story. Super happy to hear that. So I'm always quoting Hamilton when it comes to this, be in the room where it happens. And as a salesperson, we are not in the room where the decision is ultimately being made, right? We can influence, we can give them all like the data and how successful they're going to be, but we won't be in the room where it happens. But our past champion can be. So the idea is if I'm already working a deal and I'm bringing a person in, then they can speak on our behalf. And we've got statistics on this that like ultimately the 3 things that matter, it improves I think somewhere in the range of 30 to 50%, all 3 of them. And that's deal cycle, it's win rate, and it's the ACV of the deal. So ultimately huge impact for the deal to come in if I bring that person in, just as in your story.
So I'm not an outlier.
I mean, you certainly did a great job in bringing this person in.
I love it. Well, that is all the time we have for today. Thank you so much, Christian, for being on the show. If you want to check out UserGems, please do go to their website. And if you'd like to see a demo is having a live demo session on February 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern, and you can see UserGems in action. That's the show for today. I'm your host, Sarah Brazier, and thanks for joining Demo's Tech Pitch.